For more Haunting Live real experiences, be sure to follow us on our social on Instagram, Thread, Facebook, and also Blue Sky. And don't forget to also check us out on our official website, HauntingLivePodcast.com.
Hey everyone, check out our merchandise that we have now listed underneath HauntingLivePodcast.com. We used to be on Etsy, but we found a little bit of troubles with that, so we are now on HauntingLivePodcast.com with our merch store. Check it out. We've got so much items all together with cleansing items and crystals and so much more. Check us out, HauntingLivePodcast.com. Hey everyone, it's Brother Chris here from Divine Oracle Podcast. Join me Mondays as I do readings and I post them right here in Podbean. It's easy, it's good lighting, and it's your weekly readings. So join me, will you? The Rock Spa. Wonderful location to check out. Check out their website at therockspa.com. Shipping worldwide. So why not check out the Rock Spa at therockspa.com.
Follow us here at Haunting Live. Our new show, we just started doing new shows in November, and we are honored to have a brand new co-host on our shows now. Yolanta Meri is our co-host, and she does a lot of work for us on the side and introduces people to the show and discusses different topics on the show. So we're really happy to have her here this season. So go check out our brand new episodes at our host of Haunting Live Podcast.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello, Haunting Live podcast viewers. My name is Yolanta Meri, and I'm here with Trevor Bishop on the Haunting Live podcast. Today, we have a very magical guest for you, a talented tarot reader, a remote viewer, a medium, and someone who would love to go out with you into a graveyard at night. It is the talented and wonderful Celtic tarot, SHEILA.
Hi. Thank you. I appreciate the offer, and I'm glad to be here.
Well, welcome. Thank you for taking your time and being our guest on this episode of Haunting Live, SHEILA. We appreciate you coming on today.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. It's always an honor to be invited to somebody's channel.
Oh, it's wonderful to have you. I've seen you on YouTube, a lot of collabs that you do. I watch your live shows as well, so it's really interesting that you read tarot, you know how to use the cards, and you do a lot of political readings on your channel. We'll touch on that. But first of all, I'd like to ask you a little bit about your background. How did you get into doing tarot, and what drew you to that?
Well, I had an older sister. I'm 6 out of 7 children, so the third oldest sister was the one that really was into tarot card readings. And so she showed me when I was like 18, 19 years old. And the moment she placed a tarot deck in my hands, I just knew what to do with it, I guess, automatically, naturally. And so it just kind of went from there. My family was very religious, so we had to like, shh, quiet, because we were then, of course, going against other belief systems. So it's been a more or less a quiet journey, because we couldn't tell anybody in our family, but yeah, that's how it kind of started. And I just have gotten information all of my life. I didn't know exactly what it was. I really didn't know. I didn't have a word for it. I didn't know what really was going on, things like that. So yeah, I guess it's simple. It's not horribly exciting, but it's there.
Now, when you really got into the tarot, did you find that those unexplained experiences or those unexplained intuitions, did it heighten those, or did that stay about the same?
Well, my experience with the tarot cards is that my intuition would kick in and give me a connection and a feeling as to what the tarot card was saying. And I didn't realize at the time that that was an important part of my journey. A lot of times people will memorize the tarot cards and know exactly what they're saying. And, when they pull, I didn't. I would not be able to remember exactly what each and every one of those tarot cards mean for the life of me. I could get a basic one word in there, but I was like, oh, how I must be doing it wrong. So I found some cards that had words on them that helped remember and to enact some of my intuition on the card and what it meant. Boy, it took off from there. And so I am a famous one for using cards with words. And then my intuition kicks in. And with all of that together, I think I draw from the Akashic records and get some truth out of it.
Yeah, no, that's a great way to do it because that puts your intuition into the reading as well. You're not just going by what the definitions say the card is supposed to mean, but you're putting your own intuition in it too, which a lot of readers do.
Yes.
Is there any kind of reading that you won't do?
Well, I do not do any readings for children, like anybody 18 or younger, unless the child is asking me. Like the child has to be there in front of me and asking me to do that. And that's usually from 16 to 18. Nobody underneath that. Their energy is too scattered and too much energy, and nothing's set in stone for them at that point in time. So it's really hard to say to a 10-year-old, you're going to be an astronaut. And this is what the cards say. You can't really do that because it'll all change. But those are the ones that I don't do. Let's see, what are restrictions or ethics? No, so like other readers, I do not read on other readers unless I have their permission. I think it's not right to do that. The reason why I'm able to read on political figures is because they already give you permission. They are a political figure. They are open. They come out into the open. I am here. And therefore, I'm able to read on their political career, what they're thinking, things like that. Now, I do not recommend any creator to read like something private, like in their bedroom kind of a reading. And I think that's kind of unethical. I don't even want to know either. But, those are the type of things that kind of ethics kind of creep in. Not every one of us follow that, but those are the ones that I do.
So how did you get into remote viewing?
By accident, truly. I used to call it hijacking. I've been doing remote viewing all of my life, and all of a sudden I would be somewhere and I would just go into like a daze and I would get this download of information and I would walk away and I'm like, I just got hijacked, or whatever. And I didn't know what it was exactly. And so once I got older and I started asking questions and other people who were doing it, I finally came up. I mean, it's between channeling and remote viewing. So remote viewing can be somebody who can close their eyes and go directly to that spot and kind of walk around like a spirit in that house or room or whatever. Mine kind of comes, I go directly into Akashic records and get the information out of spiritual information. But I'm not connecting with an entity who is giving me information. So mine is like a combination between remote viewing. I'm remoting the situation, but I'm getting it from spiritual or higher power information. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, so you're kind of like getting the information by yourself rather than relying on somebody else or an entity to help you with that.
Yeah, I don't have an entity or anything like that. I'm pretty sure I have guides. I'm pretty sure I've went through a few of them. But anyways, yeah, I don't have like a guide talking to me. It just seems like I can go directly to the source. I have a guide with me, but I go directly to the source. And I get spirit. So like if you ask me a question, what's going to happen with my job? I would go up into the Akashic records and I can give you, I'm like, your job looks like it's going dark. It looks like you're having problems with your desk. It's moving. It has a green color to it, or it has a red color to it. And what I'm telling you is like your job is not stable. Your table's giving you a red color, meaning it's warning you that whatever you're doing is not, there's a stopping point. Those are the type of things that my remote viewing does. I hope that helps.
Now, have you ever been doing like a tarot reading and then all of a sudden like fall into that remote viewing, or have you been doing tarot and just staying in more of an intuitive state?
Oh, no. I have done a tarot reading and stuff like that. And you probably, if you've watched enough of my videos, you'll see it like this. And all of a sudden I go, I just saw a scene where this happened. And that's exactly what happens to me. I get showed some information, just like I went into the information about like, not to get political, but like Trump's inauguration. I went into this remote view and I'm looking up at the stage and I'm looking up at where they usually have it. I'm like, it's empty. There's nobody here. There's absolutely, and then I'm like looking at like it's dark. There's nobody here. And then I would look at his inauguration and it looked fuzzy and white. And I'm like, what is going on? Well, come to find out, because of the cold and the snow, he's moved it inside. Therefore, the snow and the cold was significant. And the fact that there was nobody up on the terrace could have been so many meetings, but now he took it inside. So I did that remote view maybe a week, maybe a month, maybe, I don't know. It was even a while ago that I did a remote view of that. And so what that does is like I get images regular. Like I can stand in front of somebody in the supermarket and whew, images would just fly by. Now, do I tell them about it every time? No, I'm not a freak. But, you know, but I will get my own information. I don't know why I'm getting information on this person other than it's available. That's the only thing I can think of. I said, if the information is available, I am going to be able to connect to it, whether it's relevant that I say something or I don't know, but that's kind of how it works with me. And I do better when I close my eyes and take a deep breath and concentrate and focus on a certain question. But sometimes I just get hijacked.
Yeah. Okay, sorry, Trevor, I'm going to take over for a little bit here because I'm really curious. So when you're tuning into just, you know, Stacy's calling and she wants a tarot because she wants to know if Jim's going to come back to her, but she doesn't have like a huge emotional charge. Does it feel different when you're receiving that information than when you're receiving information, maybe more political information, because there's a huge emotional charge and there tends to be a lot of turbulence within that energy? Like, do you feel that difference in terms of the kinds of energies that are swirling around, or does that information always come in and it always feels the same? Because I would almost assume that when you're trying to tune into the political world, because it's so charged, things are so twirling and swirling and there's so many undercurrents, that you'd feel it in some strange energetic way.
I think I know what you're talking about. For somebody who does this, it takes years of practice to separate yourself from the energetic energy and emotions. Emotions can lie. Emotions can always be manipulated, and they cannot give you a true navigational tool. So let's do that. So let's make sure we know that it's malleable. So training comes where I separate myself from the emotional charge and I go to the channels of where I go to. It takes practice to separate that. Me being an empath, it took years for me to even separate my own emotions from somebody else's emotions. And I was able to do that. So when I do that, there's a whole lifetime of things to do. We could probably have 3 podcasts of this. But once you have trained yourself and you're able to do that, and you know where the information and how it feels and what it looks like from spirit, you're able to just literally connect, just like plugging in a lamp. Okay, this is where the direction is going. And I remove myself from the emotional charge, because the emotions will lie to you. My emotions, your emotions, it's apparent that, you know, people who are being lied to, their emotions are up in a roar over the lie, but it's a lie. So their emotions are being manipulated. Therefore, their emotions feel real, but it's under a false pretense. So if I hope that helps, it's a separation. It's an act of teaching yourself to separate from where the information is coming from.
So the emotional charges that are behind the questions or behind the person, they're not impacting your read because you're just separating.
Correct. And it takes practice to do that. It's not an automatic thing, but yes, absolutely. And you learn your mistakes by doing a reading that's wrong. That's kind of, you know, like I learned all the rules by breaking them, right? That's the truth. And so that's how I learn. I'm like, wow, what happened there? and I did get too emotionally involved. Therefore, I need to. Now, I would not, and I cannot do a reading on my own children. If that's too close of an emotional bond, I don't want to ever separate that bond anyway, but I would not. I mean, that would be like taking a mother and separating their energy from their child, and I'm not willing to do that. So I don't do my own children or like my sisters and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Because that's just too much. But I can do it on political readers for sure, and I can do it for people who want a reading and things of that nature. That's easy for me to disconnect that.
Do you think being an empath was did it help you or did it hinder you in this process?
Both. When I was younger, I didn't know what an empath was. I didn't know what was going on. I'm the two. There's me and my younger brother, and my mother, my father and my mother divorced, and she married this other guy, and this other guy was not a nice guy. And so my brother and I would be sitting in the living room, and I would literally look up at my brother and say, "It's time to go to the room," and because I knew he was coming home, but I didn't know that's what I was doing. Of course, I'm like 6, 7 years old. So that was a protection empath that I was utilizing as a child. And most children do have empaths, use their empathic abilities to protect themselves from the get-go. But I didn't need them when I was an adult. I was able to protect myself, right? But I was still falling into the trap of feeling somebody who was either angry or hostile and stuff like that. And I would get fearful, and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, what's going on? And so it was confusing to be able to separate that. But once I got a handle on where the information, why I'm feeling somebody else's feelings, and that I was a regulator because I could, I had to learn to regulate my own emotions and separate them, then it became a tool and useful because I could easily, like, okay, I'm doing a reading. Somebody's getting really anxious. I'm feeling their anxiety. I know what to do with that. Love, kindness, walking them through the system, through how we do it. But like I said, it was a gift and sometimes it wasn't. It was confusing, not knowing exactly. I came from religion. I didn't come from women who taught me all of this. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah.
So if I can jump topics now a little bit, let's jump into your sort of witchery background, your Celtic background. You call yourself Celtic Tarot. So what can you talk about that to us a little bit about? Do you have any experience doing spells or doing any casting or anything like that?
Yeah, same situation. I went to a reader myself. We had these metaphysical fairs that we have around here, and I was always interested in reading because I'm that girl. And so I would sit down and I would get that. And one of them looked up at me and says, "You're a natural witch." And I'm like, "What does that mean?" You know what I mean? What do you mean by that? And she just told me, she goes, "You're a natural witch. You didn't have to be trained. You didn't have to this, that, and the other." So I kind of took that little bit of information and I started to go down the path of education. Like I wanted to learn about this, and I want to learn about that, and I want to learn that. And what I found was the more I went down that path of education about it, the less my witchiness or my empath and all that, I started losing it. And I couldn't figure out, wow, it's like I'm learning about what I'm doing. Why not? The natural witch part was an incredibly important information to me. Natural meaning that I came from the ancient wisdom, the ancient stuff. The new stuff here does not help a natural witch. New stuff here, and I don't want to offend anybody. I really don't. But the information that's here is to bring about new witches, the ones that did not incarnate as natural witches. This information that we have today that you can learn about definitely promotes that, so that the next time you come in, you will already be, on the path. So I just want to kind of separate that, but it didn't help me at all. So I don't have any former or education, proper education about this. I just knew that sage did this, and I don't know why. I just knew that putting a crystal or putting a circle or putting this or whatever it is, as I was doing my spells, as they call it, or my whatever they want to call it. But my magic spells, I just knew what to do. And I just went with that. And that's how I practice, is I just do what I feel is the right thing to do. And I always know when I'm going the wrong way, because my intuition and my spirit will just go, no. I'm like, okay, what do I do now? You know what I mean? So I don't know if that helps. I don't know if that explains anything. And being a Celtic is just I have had dreams. I'm pretty sure it's a past life of me being in the Celtic world in Ireland. I have dreams about me running an inn and a dirt road in front. I cooked in this great big huge cauldron. Apparently I had children, but it doesn't look like my husband was there. I don't know. But men or travelers would stop by, eat at my inn, water their horses and stuff like that. And I have lots of dreams about being there and doing that and being there. So when I look at Ireland, I long to go home, although I've never been there. I mean, I want to go home so bad. And I look at the landscape and listen to the people and all of that stuff. And my longing for that life and that land is pretty dominant, although I've never been there. But all of my ancestors that came over did. We actually had a sigil. Griffin is my maiden name. So we had a sigil and a castle of Griffin. So
that's cool. You might have your own castle over there?
Well, not now, but back in the day we did. We had our own sigil and our own flag and our own castle in the land. Oh, wow. Yep.
Maybe you can go over there and actually find the ruins of it somewhere.
I would love to. Oh my gosh. I keep on saying that if Trump really wants to deport people, I'm like, I want to be on the all expense deportation. I can prove that my ancestors came here illegally. Let's go. Get me and my children out. Let's go. I'm on it.
Oh, gosh. So when you are casting, is there anything that kind of would be the same or would be similar or would be the magic sauce that makes a spell work or work faster?
My energy that I have within me, what my intentions are, anything like that. A lot of times I use a prayer as I'm working. It's not necessarily like a prayer, like a religious prayer. It's just I'm putting these intentions and I come up with my own spells and how I do it and what I'm saying, and putting it in there and just literally just knowing that the energy that I'm using from my body, from the spirit, from the Akashic, everything. Each and every one of you have star seeds in you, and each and every one of you have the power of the universe. And I want to preach that so much to everybody. Every single one of us has the power of the universe within them. We are all connected everywhere, And so with my knowledge of that and that putting the energy into it and things like that, I think is probably one of the most important things that I do as I cast my spells and binding and cord cutting and things like that. But I'm all for the good. I absolutely refuse to do anything dark. I'll go into a haunted house and I'll probably speak to you, but I will not deal with you. Does that make any sense? Yeah. But I will not do anything dark. I know the consequences of the dark. It's easy the dark can pollute a pure water. So that's what my lessons always is. Don't allow that dark to pollute your pure water.
So you more classify yourself as a white witch then?
If that's what normal up here, is the white witch, but I didn't choose it. I was just that when I showed up. Thank goodness. Although I don't know. I mean, being a dark witch looks fun too, but I'm not that. You know what I'm saying? They look like they're having a great time.
Yeah, but you know what they say, the more you put out there, the more folds come back onto you after, so you don't want that energy coming back onto you. So
right. And the less power you will yield, if that makes any sense. Yes.
Okay, so we touched on ghosts. Do you have any really good ghost stories?
Oh my gosh. I was raised in a haunted house out in the country. So I was like 4 or 5 years old, and it was a old country house. Like there was cows everywhere, it was out in the middle of nowhere. And my sister and I lived on the top of the house, of the top. Why can't I can't use my words? Where are your words, Sheila? The top floor. Okay, so the top floor had an opening, and then my sister had her own room. This was my oldest sister, and she had her own room, and I was out in the opening, and my bed was just there, and my toys were there. So she would get haunted the most, and she had like all these little 45 records. Remember back in the day, the 45 records, because she was a teenager and she gathered them. She had them up on her shelf, and I remember her turning off her light one time, and then she heard this, and I heard this, blah, 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 and she turned the light back on, and all of her 45s were all over the her room, right? So that was a few things that happened. Another thing that would happen is I would get woken up by something in the middle of the night, and like somebody would, like Sheila, like it was like a grown man waking me this child up, and I couldn't figure out what it was. So I would dart into my sister. I slept in my sister's bed a lot, apparently. Those are the few things that happened when I was younger, and with my older sister. There's a whole bunch of stories in there. But here in my own home, I get a lot of relatives who want to talk to my subscribers. And and I said that one time on my channel, and they all kind of like, oh, please, they didn't believe me. So I just stopped talking about it because they didn't really believe me. But sometimes I get that when I'm doing readings, sometimes I will get messages that'll come through. But anyway, so these are the things that happen to me. He's really complaining about that. So those are the kind of things that happened to me. I one time was doing a live show, and my door over here opened and shut, but I'm into that to go and investigate and do the shows, and I would be offer myself as my gifts, where I could be a medium, where if they needed to move on, I can move them on and things like that, and do a ritual and cleansing and stuff like that. So I hope that answers your questions. I'm a Gemini. I can talk forever.
I'm a Moon, so we'll get along well. Have you ever walked into a place completely open, feeling stuff, and just went, nope, and turned back around?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I know when I cannot function. So one thing that was really weird that kind of there's two different plant places here in Colorado Springs. Like you can go to, they're called nurseries. They have all the small plants and stuff like that you can go to. I walked into one nursery, and I literally walked in. It was like a brick wall. I'm like, wow, there's something here that it was an imaginary. It was, an invisible wall, but I just walked through a big wall. And I remember standing there, like, I don't like it here. I'm out. And so I turned around and I went to another nursery, where I walked in, and it was nice. It was great. Everybody got along, this, that, and the other, right? A couple of weeks later, I find out that nursery that I went into, somebody got murdered. And I was like, so it was by an employee on employee. So I felt the discord. I felt something that was there. I didn't pick up on that if somebody was going to hurt somebody, or, how do you say that to a place? Well, 3 weeks later, this guy's not going to do good. You know what I mean? You can't do that. But, but yeah, so it was like a really weird kind of stuff like that I will go, oh, no, or somebody's house. I won't like how I feel in somebody's homes. That you can feel the discord and the yuckiness and stuff like that. Yeah, it happens more than not. Yeah. So,
now, do you think your spiritual gifts is what really taught you to trust your gut? Constantly learning, okay, I felt that, and I'm going to trust that. No. And did you teach this trusting your gut to your kids?
I hope I've taught them to trust their gut. Now my son has intuition above and beyond mine. I trust his a lot, but I had to learn to trust my intuition. because when you are raised, like, say, organized religion, it teaches you not to trust that, only trust one thing over here. When you're out in society, they don't believe in the paranormal, this, that, and the other. So you get taught one more time not to trust that. It's hokey. So every place that I turn, if you get a partner, like I had a husband that didn't believe in this, and stuff like that. So you get told that. So all along the way, it's happening. And at one point in time, I'm just going to have to just trust and believe what Spirit is telling me and know which channel it's coming in on, because it's not the same channel. It's a totally different feeling channel. And once you find that channel, then you know where to go, you know what it feels like, you know where it's coming from. And I had to abandon all of my belief systems and just trust it. And it hasn't let me down yet. Sometimes I misinterpret, but that's my human nature that comes into play, which I like to get rid of, but I can't. So, but yeah, it's a practice to trust whatever it's coming in. Like I trust, how did you going driving to my place, like that, and all of a sudden some small voice says turn left. I'm like, why? I'm going to this, right? Why do you want me to turn? But then I go 30 seconds later, I'm like, all right, I'll turn. And I turn. And for sure enough, something has happened along the way that me turning and listening to that small voice has saved me one more time. And then again it happens, and again and it happens. And so I try to keep the gap of my resistance from listening down to a minimum. Because I can resist just like everybody else.
I did have one
It's
question about your political readings, actually. So, when you put your energy into your political readings, do you find that weighs the results sometimes? Like, do you put your own thoughts into that, and you find that the outcome varies depending on what you're thinking about at times, or?
Thank you for that question. If anybody out there says that they can weigh or choose or manipulate Spirit's answers, get rid of them. Don't talk to them. I am not powerful enough to manipulate Spirit's answers. I could be mad as heck, throw my cards, Spirit gives me a different information. I have to believe that and let go of my anger. But I do not hold the power, nor does anybody hold the power to manipulate and make Spirit answers wrong. What happens is people will give you the answer they want instead of what Spirit's telling you. That's an ethical problem. That's not my problem. But I concede to my innermost self that I am ethical and that I will tell the truth and that I will be honest in my readings. So that's what I say to that. I am not powerful to manipulate Spirit's answers. Some people are like, you got to hold it this way, you got to fold it that way, you got to cut it. Oh, come on, legal. You can't manipulate it.
No, great answer. I was just curious sometimes because you watch different people do political readings and you wonder, okay, how often does their energy actually influence what's coming out of the reading? You know what I mean? Like, if you're one way or the other way, if you're right or if you're left, is that
right?
Putting energy into that reading? You know what I mean? So
I don't think so. I have wanted I wanted something and it came out like I wanted Bobert to lose, but it came out she was going to win. You know what I mean? I want her to go away like in the worst way. My cards tell me every time that she's going to win or she's going to make it through. So I have to believe what Spirit is telling, the truth and all of that. Do I get sometimes mixed up on a card like I don't understand exactly what it's telling me? Sometimes, yeah. I'm human. I'm not going to always understand everything or why
But
there.
do you think some of that not understanding is just because maybe at that moment it's just not meant to be understood?
This is true. There's a lot of theories out there that claim that. So I did a remote view on Putin one day. and I'm remote videoing him, and I'm looking at his health and stuff, which is terrible. But when I'm doing this remote view, he just turned around and looked straight at me. He just saw me, right? Now, this sounds hokey and crazy and stupid. I know.
No?
But what happened when I come out of that, I realized that he knows about us. He knows what we do. Did you know
Mhm.
that our military hired remote viewers back in the day? So he knows, because he knows who we are, and he knows, I guess, from that interaction, he knows when we're showing up. Therefore, he knows how to block us too.
Yep.
So when we are trying to get into doing stuff, we're not getting the answers, or it's getting literally confusing. We have warfare on the spiritual aspect too. You know what I mean? So yeah, there's a lot of theories that I do believe that just like with the election, every single one of us said Kamala Harris was going to win. I'm not going to get into conspiracy theories because that's not who I am. But why were we not told the truth, right? What's going on?
Well, I heard somewhere
Was it
too
cheating?
that when a lot of the readers were picking up on that she was supposed to win, I think
Every one of us.
a week or
Not a
two,
one of us out that
like a week
she
or two
wasn't going
before
to.
the election, it all changed. All the energy shifted. I heard that witches were trying to block him from winning. I heard there was a lot of people trying to put that witchery energy out there to block him. And I heard a report of they couldn't do it anymore. Something was blocking them from putting energy out there. So did he hear that at all?
I don't follow any witches per se on YouTube. I only do people that I know for a fact that are, practicing. But that's interesting to know, because we were also on the tarot reading, on the political readings, we were also dumbfounded. You know what I mean? So
That's what I mean. I think
I don't want
something,
to put an excuse. It was just bizarre.
yeah, that's what I mean. Like something close to the election, either a week before or 2 weeks before, some energy
Yeah.
shifted and it went into a different timeline. And now we're still in that timeline. So
Yeah, I feel like we're on our reality is not what it's supposed to be. We derailed terribly.
Now, okay, totally off topic, but we're going to be on. I have heard before from a remote viewer that tried to not like I've watched something with a remote viewer that said that they went and looked at Antarctica, and that at some point they were blocked by remote viewers from that spot as well. So do you think that maybe some of these high level people are using remote viewers or using psychic powers to maybe manipulate answers because they maybe are a little bit more developed or working as a collective? Do you think some of that is playing into what you've been noticing?
So I do know that there are some witches out there that do chaos spells. And if they're active and they're doing chaos spells, then yeah, if we're not aware of the chaos spell, it's going to look chaotic to us and we're not going to get a true reading. We can kind of decipher sometimes. I've encountered chaos spells myself, where I'm looking at it and I have learned to come back and just say, I don't know what that meant, because I'm not going to place a name or whatever it is on something I don't understand. And yes, absolutely, light spells are can be just as powerful as a dark spell, unfortunately.
So there just be different levels going on that we don't know about, or maybe that we're not
I don't know
able.
about levels. That's an interesting question and an interesting thing to think about. If there's different levels, I'm not sure I'm willing to agree that I'm on a lower level than another another reader or anything like that. That gives us hierarchy, and I don't think that's how we do that. The fact that maybe I have done quite a bit of work to clear the path to see a little bit more, maybe is a better explanation. However, I'm just trying to read to see if there's, I think a high level, like what you guys would think a higher level echelon, or, somebody that's really been into it for quite some time, then, knows what they're doing, or natural at it. Natural witches are, of course, more They have the ancient wisdom and stuff. It still sounds hierarchy, but I'm trying not to. The information that's kind of coming in is they would block me just as much as they would block somebody that's just started. It's the same thing. Same with anybody else. I have a reverse mirror spell that I have placed upon myself. That means if you read on me without any permission, the only thing you're reading on is yourself. So if you come up with bad cards, that reading is literally on you, about you, right? So nobody can penetrate that. Nobody can get into that unless I give them permission to do a reading on me. Now, can that wisdom and that spell can be used elsewhere? Absolutely. Like if somebody knew about my mirror spell and the ancient wisdom, I don't give this out readily, but if they knew about it, then they could do a whole state. They could do a whole building if they wanted to. So
just for instance, like Putin, we understood that he most likely felt you looking in on him.
Yes.
So is there a chance that he just has access to more information or different information and he's using it? And this is information that's being blocked from the general public, blocked from the typical. So when I mean levels, I'm thinking more, we've got people operating in the light where they're visible and we understand. And then we've got a shadow group where maybe they have information that is being held or that we're not necessarily privy to. That they're using to their advantage.
Yes, and that's a better example, a better explanation. People who know more about spell casting can be out there. Absolutely, I don't know everything. So if somebody else knows something different or something, a powerful spell that I have not come and encountered with, that is a better explanation. Absolutely.
Okay.
That absolutely can happen. And Putin used to be in
KGB.
the... in KGP, they used thousands of remote viewers to fight the war. So he knew exactly. And I'm pretty sure they probably vetted them and asked them how they're doing it, and they probably knew everything that they did. So he would have that information. And he may be a dark warlord, as the logic would say. He could actually be one of them. There's no doubt that could actually happen. I'm not calling him one. I'm just saying it could happen.
Yes. Understood.
But yeah, that's a better explanation if somebody knows more and different wisdom than I do. Yes.
Okay. I mean, the Vatican does have a giant library with all sorts of information that we're not privy to.
The Vatican knows about us. That's for dang sure. That's the reason why they write about us and say, "Oh, they're from the devil." Well, it's because we can find out what you're doing.
Yep.
Well, the Vatican will be a whole different podcast we can do. So there's so much there.
I did a reading podcast.
I did a reading on the Catholic Church, and it was unbelievable. I never did a reading on a church before like that. I was like, oh my gosh. So yeah. Anyways.
Before we let you go here today, and again, thank you so much for being on our show this episode and talking a little bit about your background and how you got into your witchery and spiritual work. It's been very, very revealing, so thank you. Do you have any other things you'd like to talk about quickly, or any little projects you're working on that you want to promote before we let you go?
I guess if you ever wanted a reading from me, you can come over to my channel, which is Celtic Tarot SHEILA. Underneath my comments or sometimes underneath my videos, you can find a link to make an appointment with me to do a reading. I offer several things. I also do where I can do a guided exercise of remote viewing to teach you how to channel it and where it's coming from, and kind of like bumper cars to get you into. I've had extremely good success for that. I offer tarot readings, and if you wanted to learn about tarot readings, I can do a one-on-one tarot reading class with you if you'd like. So yeah, if that's what you wanted to do. Other than that, come and join me on my channel. It's fun.
Yes, she does amazing live readings, and she does collabs with other YouTubers as well. I watch them, so you should go check it out. So,
well, thank you.
All right, well, thank you. Miss one of our episodes? Replay our episodes on Rhode Island Broadcasting. Show your support for Haunting Live by supporting our broadcast partner, Rhode Island Broadcasting. Find them on YouTube. For more Haunting Live real experiences, be sure to follow us on our social on Instagram, Thread, Facebook, and also Blue Sky. And don't forget to also check us out on our official website, HauntingLivePodcast.com.